In the 7th century, Prophet Muhammad awoke in terror. His face was flushed as he delivered a warning. A hole has opened in the wall of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and an ancient evil has drawn near. For Islamic scholars, this was the signal. The specific breach of this barrier marks the start of a countdown to the end of the world. To understand the threat, we have to look at the first major theory, the classical view. Ancient texts describe a righteous ruler named Dhul Qarnayn who built a massive wall of iron and molten copper to physically trap a savage human horde beneath the earth. The scale of this horde is difficult to comprehend. Prophecy states that when they finally break free, their numbers will be so vast that the first wave will pass by Lake Tiberias and drink it dry before the last of the horde even arrives. But the literal interpretation faces a modern impossibility. Today, satellite technology has mapped every square inch of the Earth. No towering iron wall holding back billions of humans has ever been found, forcing scholars to look for a different truth. With the physical wall missing, many scholars turn to history. They suggested Ya'juj and Ma'juj were actually the nomadic conquerors who once terrorized the known world, the Huns, the Tatars, or the Mongols. These groups matched the Quranic description of an enemy surging like waves. The Mongol invasions swept across the Asian steppe and devastated the medieval Islamic Empire through sheer numbers and overwhelming brutality. Yet this historical theory contains a fatal theological flaw. The texts dictate that the release of Gog and Magog triggers the final apocalypse. The Mongol invasions came and went centuries ago, and the world did not end. If the wall is not a literal visible gate, and the Mongols were not the final trigger, the true identity of Ya'juj and Ma'juj must be a force that remains active, an entity hidden in plain sight, wielding vastly more power today. This leads to the systemic paradigm. Modern scholars argued the breach was metaphorical. Under this framework, the release of Gog and Magog is a gradual 1400-year geopolitical process. Historians tracking this theory point to the Khazar tribes of the Caucasus, the region associated with Dhul Qarnayn. They describe a westward migration that integrated with Scandinavian Viking parties, eventually settling and forming the merchant and royal classes that would lead European colonial expansion. In this context, swarming from every height describes the expansion of global military, technological, and colonial reach. It is the unmatched ability to dominate any point on the map from a position of superior power. Under this interpretation, Ya'juj and Ma'juj are not a hidden tribe of savages. They are the architects of the modern global hegemony. The Hadith literature defines Ya'juj and Ma'juj as an indestructible power, a force so heavily armed and dominant that God declares no human army can defeat them in conventional warfare. This is the 1886 Imperial Federation map. It visualizes the global reach of the British Empire at its height, mirroring the prophetic description of a dominance that once spanned every time zone on Earth. Operating from this position of strength, these powers dismantled previous global structures. They drew new national borders, imposed international laws, and established a unified financial system that bound the world together under their specific rules. This Gog and Magog world order aligns with the ancient warnings. It is an all-encompassing global system designed to absorb all of mankind into its framework. The final link is found in Surah Al-Anbiya, containing a specific prophecy regarding a destroyed town. The verses establish a specific parameter. A divine ban has been placed on the people who were expelled from this destroyed town, ensuring they can never return to reclaim it as their own. There is only one condition that lifts this ban. The expelled people cannot return until Ya'juj and Ma'juj are released and spread out across the world. Modern scholars identified this destroyed town as Jerusalem, and the expelled people as the Jewish diaspora, who were historically exiled from the Holy Land for nearly 2,000 years. For 2 millennia, returning to establish a state was physically and politically impossible. Therefore, whoever possessed the geopolitical power to finally facilitate that return would be, by prophetic definition, the forces of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. That 2,000-year exile was broken by a specific historical catalyst, the intervention of the British Empire in 1917. The European powers utilized the Balfour Declaration, a public pledge by the British government, to facilitate this return. Orchestrated at the highest levels with the Zionist movement, it bears the signature of a European architect of global policy, linking Western hegemony and the ancient text. This policy materialized when European military forces marched into the Holy Land, utilizing their global dominance to meet the conditions required by the Quranic timeline. We are not waiting for mythological monsters to break out of a mountain. The wall has been gone for centuries. The prophecy of the destroyed town has been fulfilled. Humanity is already living deep within the final stages of the end of days.